Hi, I'm Boriana and you're watching Art Unplugged. For the last couple of weeks, the Mona Lisa has been texting me literally every 5 minutes, and it's all because of the title of my latest video. If you don't know what it is, I've put a link in the description below. That's her again. God. So, well, this one had to be about the Mona Lisa. If you're doing a PowerPoint presentation for work or for school and you need to include an image of a masterpiece, most certainly the one that you would choose is the Mona Lisa. And why not? You don't need to know anything about art to know that the Mona Lisa is the world's most famous painting. But have you ever wondered why is that so? What is it that makes the Mona Lisa the world's most famous painting? Or if we put it in a different way, what makes a painting the world's most famous one? Let's see. Well, several things. First, the celebrity of the artist. Leonardo da Vinci is the embodiment of our idea of the Renaissance man, of the universal genius. He's widely considered the most diversely talented human being to have ever lived. The scope and depth of his interests were without precedent in recorded history. On top of that, he was very good looking. It is said that his teacher Verrocchio used him as a model of the angel in this painting. He was also left-handed, vegetarian, homosexual, and preferred experimentation as a source of knowledge rather than faith. And I'm not talking here about some Instagram star. These were the 1500s. Imagine how unorthodox he must have seemed to his contemporaries. He could get away with leaving his projects unfinished, and still the rich and powerful of the day were competing for his commissions. Of all his works as a painter, only 25 survive, which makes them particularly precious. The Mona Lisa even more so, because he worked on it for 16 years and didn't part with it for the rest of his life. Now, if the Mona Lisa was painted by another painter, would she have been so famous? Mystery. First, the model. Who is she? There have been all sorts of speculations, from Mona Lisa being a self-portrait of Leonardo, to being a portrait of his pupil and supposedly lover Salai, that she was pregnant or that she suffered from a number of illnesses which supposedly explain her features and her complexion. Juicy material for speculation, that's all. Nowadays, there is enough historical evidence to confirm that she was Lisa Gherardini, the wife of a wealthy Florentine merchant called Francesco del Giocondo. Not a member of the aristocracy, not a mistress of a ruler or a pope. Why did Leonardo paint her portrait at a time when he was turning down requests from the rich and powerful? And why didn't he complete the commission and deliver it to the client, but rather kept the painting for the rest of his life? And the biggest mystery of all, the smile. Is Mona Lisa sad or is she happy? Is she scornful? Is she seductive or is she shy? There are as many theories as there are viewers. And then, what's the deal with those eyebrows? The criminal plot. Although the Mona Lisa was very well known with the intellectuals, it was not popular with the general public until 1911, when it was stolen from the Louvre. French poet Guillaume Apollinaire came under suspicion and was arrested and imprisoned. Apollinaire implicated his friend Pablo Picasso, who was brought in for questioning. Both were later exonerated, but imagine the headlines. The man who stole it kept it in his apartment for whole 2 years and eventually was caught when he tried to sell it in Florence. The haste opened the floodgates of worldwide media attention and marked the beginning of Mona Lisa's popularity with all levels of society. When it was recovered in 1913, it made headlines again. There have been several attacks on the painting throughout the years, each causing a tsunami of media noise. I bet you that if it wasn't for the haste, the Mona Lisa would still be art nerd territory. It simply doesn't have the wow factor that we're looking for. The myth of Mona Lisa was already building up in the 19th century, when she was a subject to poetry, plays, songs. She was called femme fatale when that was fashionable, adding the appropriate dose of mystery and intrigue to the meaning of her smile. In 1919, the father of conceptual art, Marcel Duchamp, painted a goatee and moustache on a cheap reproduction of the Mona Lisa. This too received a great deal of media attention, of course, as was Duchamp's true intention. The Mona Lisa became famous for being famous. She went on tours to the United States in 1963 and then Japan and Moscow in the 70s, attracting millions of viewers. Then came the advertising, the merchandising, the movies, the Da Vinci Code, the sensational discoveries that keep popping up every now and then. And now the internet, which makes her image pass fleetingly in front of our eyes millions of times. I asked a few of our viewers here, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the name of the Mona Lisa? Here is what they answered.
The main thing, it's popularity, enormous popularity.
La sonrisa, esa sonrisa a media que esconde.
The mysterious smile. Okay.
The main thing about the Mona Lisa is her eyes. I always wonder where she's looking.
Mona Lisa is the most famous painting because everybody's talking about it.
It's the Renaissance.
Her smile. But realistically, it's all about the marketing. You're told that you should like this painting from a very young age, even if you have no idea about it.
D'un sabio. Las cejas que no tiene.
If you didn't know it, could you have guessed that we are talking about an art piece at all? I think we've come to a point when the Mona Lisa is drowning in the noise of her own notoriety. What's more, many people do not think that the actual painting deserves all this hype, and that is not surprising. Art that makes headlines nowadays looks like this. And this is our idea of beauty. Our perceptions and our expectations of art have changed, that's normal. The result of the general image overload and the hype that we've created around Mona Lisa for all the wrong reasons is that we have become blind for the actual work of art. So, let's take a good old-fashioned moment and look at the Mona Lisa. We see a quiet contemplative portrait of a young woman sitting with her arms folded in front of a landscape. There is a slight twist in her torso as her head and eyes turn softly towards us. Take a moment and look at her. Even after seeing it a million times, this portrait still has a powerful presence and magnetism. Mona Lisa appears conscious of us and of herself. She's subtle yet mesmerizing. Unlike subjects of portraits of the time, her attire and hairstyle are simple, lacking any status symbols and adornments. By omitting all distractions, Leonardo made sure that all our attention is drawn to her face. The story he had to tell us was bigger than wealth and social status. He used the classic pyramidal composition of Renaissance paintings, which provides stability and points the eye again at the face. Mona Lisa is the first Renaissance portrait where the sitter is in a three-quarter length pose. This will become the norm later and today doesn't impress us much, but at the time when sitters were painted stiff and rigid, mainly in profile, The Mona Lisa looked completely unusual with her twisted torso and direct gaze. Women were simply not presented like this at that time. There is a lifelike quality to the Mona Lisa which Leonardo achieved through the technique of sfumato, which he invented, the smoky, smooth transitions between colors which eliminate any unnatural sharp edges. He did that by applying layer after layer of transparent glazes, which give the light areas of the painting the depth and luminosity that we see. Placing the figure in front of a landscape was very unconventional too. Backgrounds of portraits at the time showed interiors or were simply plain. In the rare cases when landscape was used as a background, the subject and the landscape were painted with the same sharpness. Leonardo, however, demonstrated another discovery of his, the aerial perspective, where distant objects appear blurred and in paler bluish colors. This effect fills the portrait with air and makes it appear even more lifelike. The curved lines of the landscape harmonize beautifully with the curves of Mona Lisa's face, hair and body, connecting human with nature. And then of course the smile. First, having a smile in a portrait is rare in general, but even more so in portraits of the past. There are two reasons for that. First, people tended to have pretty awful teeth in the past. And second, it is hard to keep a model smiling during long painting sessions. To keep Lisa smiling, Leonardo hired musicians and jesters. This is how important this smile was to him. As seen from his anatomical drawings and notes, he knew every muscle and nerve which was involved in the human smile, and he wanted to demonstrate that in his portrait. Do you recognize the subtle smile in the upper margin of this page? The elusive smile of Mona Lisa has been a topic of endless discussions. Finally, it was explained in the year 2000 by the Harvard neuroscientist Dr. Margaret Livingston with the way the human vision works, something that Leonardo was aware of 500 years ago, thanks to his explorations of human anatomy and physiology. He realized that light rays do not come to a single point in the eye, but instead hit the whole area of the retina. The central area is best at seeing small details, while the surroundings are best at picking up shadows and nuances of black and white. When we focus on Mona Lisa's eyes, her lips remain in our less accurate peripheral vision, which also picks light and shadow from the cheekbones, whose upright curved lines suggest a smile. But when we move our focus to the lips, our peripheral vision does not pick those shadows anymore, and the smile dissipates. Mona Lisa appears to be smirking at best. So, as we move our gaze from her eyes to her lips and back, the smile comes and goes, as it properly did on the face of the young woman posing in front of the artist. In the Mona Lisa, Leonardo showed us something more important than his scientific knowledge. He showed us that, no matter what, we can never know completely another person's true emotions. There is always a veil of mystery. The Mona Lisa is not just a portrait. It is the distilled knowledge and wisdom of a genius who blended art, science and philosophy not in order to answer questions, but to ask new ones. And no matter how much we mock her, profane her, vulgarize her, and basically try to silence her so that she doesn't wake us from the collective sleep we call popular culture, her elusive smile will keep telling us, "I know something that you don't," with Leonardo's voice. I hope you enjoyed this video. Did it change your idea about the Mona Lisa at all? Please let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe and hit the little bell so that you get notifications for my future videos. You can see my own work on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. All the links are in the description below. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you very soon. Bye.